Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to the pod. And today's episode is going to very nicely follow up last week's Monday episode. And I'm going to be talking about 3 red flags that might be in your post-injury programming that's keeping you stuck. All right. And I'm going to talk about red flags you need to look for, whether you are making up your own workouts after your injury, getting back into it, whether you're following programming, whether you're just modifying the shit out of stuff, whether you're doing group class. You know, I bet if you went to physical therapy, they gave you a sheet of exercises and were like, oh, just keep doing these. So it's a little more complex than that. So I'm going to get into it. You're going to have some tangible takeaways. So, red flag number 1 is going to be you're doing random rehab drills with no clear goal. So, going off of, okay, you graduated physical therapy, they give you a sheet of exercises, and they're like, do this for homework 3 times a week, or, you know, whatever they told you. But, like, if there's no progression after that, then they're kind of pointless, because if they're way too easy and not progressed enough, you're gonna stop making progress. So most common things that I see are still doing body weight movements, things like banded clamshells, very light banded things, super basic core exercises, super basic knee exercises. You know, like if you're still doing those things for like 6 months after your physical therapy or your injury or whatever, like that's not hard enough, right? Like that needs to be progressed. Similarly, your quote unquote continued rehab should look like the training you're trying to get back to, right? So I bet before your injury you had a way of working out that you really liked, whether that was group class, regular strength training, barbell, you know, whatever that is for you. The training you're trying to get back to, your rehab and things to continue progressing after your injury, like it should look similar. There should be a bridge, a clear bridge where you're like, oh, I see how this specific movement is going to get me back to doing this. I see how these single leg step-ups are getting me back to barbell back squatting, right? So there should be a clear bridge in progression. It shouldn't just be like, oh, we're going from banded clamshells back on the barbell, baby, right? Like it should not, you know, you need more progression, right? Like there's a time and a place for bodyweight exercises, for banded clamshells, for those like lower level PT exercises. There's a time and place for them. But they're not meant to be forever. You're not meant to be doing those same things forever. It has to progress. So, red flag number 2, you are avoiding movements instead of reintroducing them. You're avoiding back squats, you're avoiding deadlift, you're avoiding running, you're avoiding lunges out of fear or out of pain. So you're just skipping it all together. You don't know how to regress it to the right stimulus. Like these are basically or maybe you're doing a barbell back squat, but you are doing it to a quarter depth on plates, heels elevated. Like, no, right? Like constant modifications with no reintegration strategy. So like that's a no-go, right? Like you should not just be modifying forever. When you do modify something, there should be a clear, it should be clear that you're trying to get back to doing XYZ, right? Example, let's take pulling deadlifts from the floor for an example. You can regress back to doing like a kettlebell RDL, right? There's a clear bridge between like, oh, I'm still hinging, I'm doing less range of motion, I'm going lighter, but it is preparing you to get back to barbell deadlifting, right? That is how it should be. You shouldn't just be, ripping deadlifts from the floor anyways at like barely any weight. Like that's not helping you. So this avoidance that tends to happen, it leads to further compensation and more problems. I see this most often with going right back to bilateral movements, so two-legged movements, and you're not doing any single leg movements. That's backwards. You need to be doing single leg and then you're progressing to bilateral, because guess what? When you're using two legs, when you're using two arms, it is so easy to hide compensations and imbalances because you're using your two limbs. Versus when you're doing single leg, single arm, unilateral stuff, there is nowhere to hide if you have a compensation. So this is why I love unilateral movements so much, is because there is nowhere to hide when it comes to compensation. And that's really important if you are coming off of an injury or you're dealing with nagging pain. That means you're compensating somewhere, right? And what we want to avoid is like you continuing to compensate in certain movements, and then that leads to pain in another spot elsewhere, right? Especially if you have something like knee pain. Guess what? If you have knee pain and you're constantly compensating, you also might develop back pain or hip pain or even foot pain. So it's never just like one thing, right? Our body all works together. It's all connected. So if there are compensations somewhere that are happening, you might develop pain in another place. And you might be like, oh, that's random. But no, it's not. It's all connected. So, and then red flag number 3 is going to be defining success only as pain-free. So there are many markers to success, and your training is not always going to be pain-free, especially if you are working through an injury. What I teach my clients is learning about the red flags when it comes to pain and like appropriate discomfort thresholds, that it's okay to keep going, right? So if we're looking at a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm not feeling anything, 10 being I need to go to the hospital, it is okay to have discomfort and pain from a 1 to 4 on that scale. And that's even normal and expected when you're working through an injury. So that's okay. If it's like a dull pain, just kind of there, that's fine. If it's a sharp shooting pain and you can point to exactly where it hurts, that is more of a red flag. And you're like, okay, I should stop this, right? And if you are dealing with that dull pain though, it's like a 6 out of 10. Okay, where can we back off range of motion or weight or tempo or something to get that threshold back down to a 4? And then we keep training through that. So that's a big thing that I teach my clients when it comes to pain, because a lot of people think that like, oh, I'm feeling pain, I should stop. That means I shouldn't do this movement. That means I should not do this. And that's not always the case. It's much more nuanced than that, especially if we're coming back from an injury. And yeah, so other markers of success when it comes to working through an injury is going to be increased confidence in a movement, increased movement quality, obviously going up in weight, more range of motion. Like those are probably the biggest ones. It's not always just like being 100% pain-free, right? So there are so many other pieces to the puzzle when it comes to success when we're working through an injury. And yeah, so that is all I've got for you guys today. I hope this was helpful. Hope it gave you some tangible takeaways. And if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I really want to start rebuilding my strength the right way after an injury, you just feel lost in the gym, you don't feel confident, and you want my opinion on what your next step should be, I offer free injury audits, which is basically where you fill out a short questionnaire and I record a video, create a document, and I give you my thoughts on what could potentially be going on and what your next step should be to move the needle in the right direction. So if you're somebody that's been like creeping on my stuff, but you're not ready to get a full assessment from me, but you do want my opinion, free injury audit. It's free. I'll give you my opinion. I'll give you some of my time, and I will give you, my thoughts, tangible takeaways. Anyways, I will put the link for that in the show notes, but I appreciate you listening and talk to you in the next episode.